Welcome back to IGN Live at E3 2016. I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joined by the Unlocked crew, our Xbox team. Marty Sleva, Destin Legary, special guest, the creator of the Xbox himself. Fitting, given what we just saw, Seamus Blackley. And gentlemen, we need to start right there with the Scorpio. It was rumored, it was leaked, it was officially not only acknowledged, but Microsoft owned it. I want to go to Seamus first. What did you think of that?
What did I think of that? Wow. So aside from flashbacks of terror at announcing specs, there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. There's a sales pitch based on performance, which we should talk about. You think about the games that you're most excited about. Like, I'm really excited about Cuphead. Not sure Cuphead needs Scorpio. So, what does that mean? And beyond generations, it's hard to understand what that means. I love all the messaging that did around developers. That's classic, like Xbox bread and butter. Give the developers what they want.
Yeah.
Make them free. They'll create awesome content because the content drives the business. At the same time, though, if I think about it like a developer, you have Scorpio coming out. You have this S version coming out, which has slightly different specs than Xbox One. You have Xbox One. When they say they're all compatible, of course, they don't mean that Scorpio games are going to play on Xbox One. They mean Xbox One's games are going to play on Scorpio. Okay, and that's terrific for developers, but a game that's all tweaked out to be awesome looking on Scorpio, right, isn't going to play on Xbox One. So as a developer, you got to make a decision. As a publisher, you got to make a decision. Where am I going to put my money? Am I going to put my money on the broad, well-adopted platform? Or am I going to put my money toward leading on the other platform? And if I'm not, then am I going to make versions of the game that are compatible everywhere? And they're all going to have to be compatible on Windows. And, it becomes a little bit more challenging.
I mean, that sort of wasn't the message that I got from it, honestly, with that final splash screen that had the S, and it had the Xbox One, and it had Project Scorpio, and sort of them saying we're not leaving anyone behind. Like, I do think, at least for the near future, into 2018, 2019, there's not going to be a game that comes out for Scorpio that won't be released for the other ones. That being said, a big fear of that is where you hit a point like we do with iPads now, or iPhones, where eventually your iPhone 4 will not run a game that comes out and is optimized for the iPhone 6.
And look, no amount of awesome corporate messaging is going to make an iPhone 6 game play on an iPhone 4 well.
Yeah.
And despite the best efforts of some very high-paid marketing guys. So I mean, that's the challenge moving forward. It sounds totally cool. Obviously, it's super exciting. It's really interesting for me from an engineering standpoint and a rendering technology standpoint to think about how it's going to work. It's interesting to think about cooling, how that's going to work, and all that fun stuff. But really, at the end of the day, I'm just imagining, if I'm going to make a game, and I have an awesome idea for a game, where is it going to live, and how am I going to approach that, and how many different platforms am I going to have to build for?
What I like to see out of this, I was impressed because I feel like this is the first time in a long time that this is Microsoft on the offensive, saying, here it is, we're throwing the gauntlet down, the ball's in your court, Sony. Whereas they've spent a lot of this generation really reacting, very reactive.
Okay, so you can beat me out. I shat all over it. So now let me say the cool stuff, right? This is really Microsoft flexing the muscle that only it has, right?
Yes.
This is Microsoft coming in heavy, right? Phil got to stand up there and say things about compatibility. Phil got to say things about generations. Phil got to say things implying support with cloud-based stuff, with deep learning stuff, all sorts of infrastructure that really only Microsoft can bring. Microsoft can bring the pain on all that stuff in a way that none of their competitors can. I think it's a really smart way for them to be pushing.
Yeah,
because there's nothing, like if I'm Sony, like I'm not bringing 40, 45 years of compatibility experience and infrastructure to bear on this one single point.
Right.
And that's pretty badass.
Yeah, and there was a bravado to that message.
There was.
That, and specs are all well and good, but honestly, at the end of the day, the consumer doesn't care about specs. The consumer doesn't care about those words.
Wait, people don't walk into Best Buy and say, sir, I require the most powerful entertainment console.
Yeah, I only date someone with a certain amount of teraflops. No, I mean, the thing is, people want to see results. People want to see what is a game going to look like.
And that's
Scorpio.
about all that infrastructure you bring to it, all the publisher relationships, all the back end, all the compatibility stuff, all the manufacturing ability, all the support, all of that at the same point.
Yeah.
All right, well I'm going to make a prediction here. I think it's going to be rebranded the Xbox, just Xbox. Little nod to my friend Seamus over here, and that's going to be the platform going forward, but we shall see. For now. Project Scorpio. Let's move to the biggest first-party game, arguably, of this conference, and that is Gears of War 4. We got the campaign demo that we were looking for in the pre-show. What did we think of it? Destin, I'm going to go to you first.
It looked absolutely fantastic. After last year's reveal, where we weren't really sure what we were
mixed,
seeing,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they went all out. They showed us everything we wanted to see. Those really big set-piece moments with things crashing into the world and then changing the path that you can take.
That lighting was unbelievable. That was probably what jumped out most for me technologically. Just the lighting was just gorgeous.
The lighting, the weather effects, the particle effects, the debris. I love the idea of this like windstorm coming through, and it's sweeping up enemies, it's sweeping up debris, and it's just causing this really like crazy chaotic firefight. And this is sort of what I wanted to see from Gears 4. We were talking on the pre-show about the demo last year that felt sort of slow and subdued and dark, whereas this was, Gears is always going to be dark. Do you think this game's going to have a daytime level?
I hope so.
just like
it would be nice to be able to see everything.
Mix it up from time to time, right?
I like daytime. And then we got the cool reveal at the end with old man Phoenix.
Yeah,
come on. Cool. Yeah.
Hey, you were asking for that relationship between JD and his dad.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So that was cool.
That's all he does. He sits in that chair, and every once in a while he's like, "Good job."
Yeah, he's like Cranky Kong at the beginning of Donkey Kong Country. It's wonderful.
Seamus, the Coalition team is in the same position that 343 was several years back of taking over a huge established franchise from the original developer. How do you think they did
Look,
today?
I'll answer that in a bigger scope. Thinking about the technology of Scorpio and how all this moves forward. One of the original concepts of Xbox that was a pretty, strange thing to get up and say at the time that's now become ubiquitous is this message of empowering developers and giving developers technology. Just looking at that game, it warmed the cockles of my heart because the technology was, sort of taking a backseat to the art. They had taken this extremely high performance level in Xbox One and used it for ideas like the wind, and how that affects gameplay and what that means. That was really cool to see. You take that technology, you offer it to developers, and they can do something with it. So it's a big mantle to be handed to them. And by everything that I saw today, God, I really want to play that game. It's really cool. And that the innovative quality of what Gears of War meant when it was released, really, it felt like it came back through there. We saw all sorts of situations in which there were things done in co-op that weren't like hackneyed co-op things. There were effects in the world that affected gameplay. There were story elements that had gameplay meaning. Everything that I love. I was really impressed. It was really cool.
And the co-op in particular, it's a staple of Gears. People love co-op. And it was great to see them come right out. And that was the demonstration here. It was a co-op demonstration.
And there's going to be couch co-op. Remember that? Remember couches?
Yeah.
I remember couches.
Who's got those anymore?
Don't
we all just put VR headsets on and live in the Matrix?
Yeah, I throw my laundry on my couch. It's not great.
So let's see. I think we'll move to Halo Wars 2, the other biggest Microsoft first-party game of this. Interesting that Halo doesn't play second fiddle to anything very often, but in this case, Halo Wars 2. I think it's mostly it's a 2017 game. That's of course not what was originally announced. It was originally announced as a holiday 2016 game. We did get our beta that we expected from the leak. What did you guys make of what you saw from Halo Wars 2?
Straight up, I thought the CG trailer was great, despite the fact that I felt like this show was a little too heavy with CG trailers. I got fatigued a little bit. I was, I'm like, where's the gameplay and all this? This looks fine and all. I thought it was a really effective. Halo games have always had really rad CG trailers for the past decade or so.
And Halo Wars itself was one of its calling cards was the cutscenes. The CG cutscenes were incredible in that game.
Totally. Yeah, the trailer. I thought the trailer was great. I'm stoked that we're going to be able to play the beta soon. Can we just leave right now and play it?
I think we probably should just.
We could probably just not
show
it
right now.
So I'm just excited to get my hands on it.
I'm really curious to see what the audience thought because, you get this fantastic CGI trailer and then they show gameplay. It's like, oh yeah, this is an RTS, by the way. You're going to be controlling all these small units. Halo Wars fans know that, but all Halo fans, I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, that's the
point. Thing.
That's the point of getting the beta out, I think, is just getting that messaging out in front. In case you don't remember this, it takes place up here, not from in here.
Yeah. But that was cool. I thought the trailer tried to address that a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought that was, for me, that was probably the coolest CG trailer, and that was just because of that one moment where our new faction leader or whatever walks by the missile and rubs his hand on it.
That was awesome.
It's like, that's pretty cool.
That was really cool.
And interestingly, stopping time like that and then showing the two commanders facing each other was, I think, a nice way to keep it cemented in people's minds that it is a strategy game.
Totally.
You know, that time is stopping and that it's not an action game. So I share your concern, but I thought they did as good a job as you can do with a cool CG trailer.
That presentation style makes me wonder if the story will be told as though these events have taken place, and then you're kind of looking back on them. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I hope so. You know, the strategy games, RTS, it's a terrific storytelling medium, actually, if you use it that way. It's one of the things I loved about Ensemble.
Yeah.
And, you know, so hopefully we'll see a lot of good Halo story here, especially if we're discovering a new faction. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And like a lot of titles.
Again, no playable exploding gas bags for us.
Come on, someday, soon.
Well, they could be hanging on to the flood too. We don't know that.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah,
could be hanging on to them. And
maybe the flood comes and saves the day.
I like that.
Twist.
Anti-heroes.
There's the twist.
They did have those mech things.
Yeah.
Like a lot of titles from this conference, Play Anywhere. That's actually it's a big initiative that we saw a lot hammered on a lot today, which I love. I mean, we've seen Microsoft dabble in this a little bit with the, basically it's cross-buy. Buy it in one place, you got it anywhere. And Halo Wars 2, you get it on one, you've got it on both.
Yeah, totally.
That's like the best way to unify these platforms, right?
That's I think it's really smart. It's Microsoft rolling in heavy. They can bring the pain on this because it's relatively subtle, I guess, but if they bring the programming infrastructure behind that, if they bring the APIs that make it easy for developers to combine gameplay across platforms, then they will. And I think they can do that. If they don't screw that up and they do a good job at that, it can be a really decisive moment. And again, they're facing off against competitors who don't have a long history of writing that kind of giant networking infrastructure that scales.
Yeah, and especially with their first-party games, like now, if all of these things are coming day and date on PC, I think you're going to start seeing the number of units compared to a first-party Sony game, that margin start to shrink because now your install base isn't 20, 25 million.
It's really bringing the pain. I can remember. I happened to be hanging out with Harold Ryan, who at that point was running Bungie. When iPhone 5 was released, or 4, I can't remember what it was. And Apple's servers famously crashed because they couldn't handle the number of iPhones that were being activated at the time. And I think Harold was laughing because I think at that point, Apple had been overwhelmed by like a low average daily user number for the Bungie servers.
Yeah. All right, we're going to come right back after a short break. Plenty more to break down from the Xbox conference. Stay tuned to IGN Live here at E3 2016.
IGN's aerial footage of E3 is provided by Independence Day Resurgence, in theaters June 24th.
Your father was the bravest man I've ever seen.
We all lost someone we love.
Oh my God. They're coming back.
Make no mistake, this is humanity's last stand.
We've got to remind them Earth is not for the taking.
Independence Day Resurgence.
We're still here. It's IGN Live at E3 2016, the Unlocked team with special guest Seamus Blackley, the creator of the original Xbox. Gentlemen, we had a lot of games to look at over the last 90 minutes with Microsoft. Let's go next to Recore, a game that was unveiled last year with a vague CG trailer. We just didn't know what kind of game it was. Yeah. Now we have a better idea of what it was. Inafune and the Armature team showing us some sort of platformy, almost maybe kind of Metroidvania type stuff with mixing all the cores into different robot dogs and
Yeah.
robot friends.
Yeah, totally. I was absolutely feeling the vibe of this
Looked
demo.
great, right?
Yeah, looked great. Shout out to Robot Dog. I don't know why I said that because he's not real, but shout out to Robot Dog. Yeah, it looked great. It looked the puzzle solving looked cool. The combat looked cool. The environmental traversal looked cool. This was an interesting world, and I'm really excited that they have this core. God, I did not mean to say that.
That's going to
a
happen a
core
lot.
mechanic.
Let's go.
A core mechanic that they use in all facets of the gameplay, and I find that super interesting.
Yeah, a recore mechanic. Sorry, had to do it.
Yeah. You didn't have to
Seamus,
do
you're a big fan of Keiji Inafune. He's just a veteran game designer with an unbelievable resume.
Sweet guy, super awesome team.
And yeah, what did you make of this game?
Well, if you're really old like me and you have like a walker hidden under the table, you remember like it feels like a lot of the great Japanese games from the 90s that influenced a lot of the games that we see now, but somehow are like lost. And so I felt like really at home. I felt like coming back home. You know, it looked like cool, innovative gameplay. It had style. You know, it's got style. The devices look cool, and you can see that there's gameplay backing it up. A lot of Japanese games fall into a hole where they're really super stylish and a lot of super cool stuff and cuts and Japanese characters up on the screen, but there's no real gameplay. And I don't think that's the case here.
You remind me of a great point with Inafune. He was so good when he was in his later days at Capcom with Dead Rising, Lost Planet, of bringing that sort of Eastern, that Japanese flair to making it sort of palatable and appealing to a Western audience, and that's the same vibe I get from Recore here.
Yeah, at the end of the days there was a team of people at Capcom, and I was fortunate enough to hang out there quite a bit, who had been to the West a lot, been to Europe, been to America a lot, seen how Western gamers reacted to what they made, and also were senior enough that they had the freedom to try stuff. And it was a magical combination. And I hope Inafune-san is back in the place where he has the freedom to do that again. It looks like it. And that's just going to be good for everybody.
Yeah, and I would really love to see this take off and be great because, I mean, we have Mighty No. 9 coming out soon, which, I haven't finished yet, but, a lot of the recent trailers and the delays and everything have sort of left a sour taste in a lot of folks' mouths. So I'm really hoping this is a turnaround from that and, come early September, this is one of the first fall games.
The Japanese gaming business got hammered, man, and so these guys are coming back out, and for me, I'm gonna have to endure a little bit of like people saying, "Oh my God, where did this come from?" Because they just don't remember.
Yeah.
Like that, this is actually where it all came from.
Yeah, the foundation of the games we play
console, the idea of all this stuff that launched where we are in the modern industry, like originated there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the game that was expected well before any leaks happened, because it's an every other year thing. That is a new Forza Horizon game, Forza Horizon 3, set in Australia. My goodness, was this impressive.
How is Alana not here right now?
She may be passed out.
Yeah,
we might want to check her pulse. So in my opinion, Forza Horizon 2 is the best racing game in at least the last 10 years.
Wow.
I think it's approachable. It's like a 72-degree perfect summer day in video game form. Yeah. And you like that?
That was good. That was nice.
That?
Yeah.
And I got nothing but more of the same from that
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 3 demonstration. I mean, it's showing it on PC, where it's going to look like be running at 60 frames. Xbox, where it'll just be smooth as butter too, and just. The lighting here, too, again, like the shadows of the trees as the car was sort of launching across a chasm. What's not to like about this
game? But I think you also, you can say that because you know that it's going to play well and feel great.
Yes.
And so in that context, you're not responding to it like it's just a graphics demo.
Right.
Because you know it's going to play well, and that's really cool. So when you see all of that off-road stuff and all of the new gameplay features and the social features, that it's going to be in that context.
Yeah, it's awesome. This giant open world 4-player co-op. Australia is such a strange, diverse, foreign planet of a
giant
country.
spider lands on your windshield.
It seems like such a cool.
Not.
No, there are
Don't do
absolutely
that. Don't do that.
But just you look right here, like driving on the ocean. Like all of this looks awesome. And yeah, I'm not a huge racing fan, but I'm totally going to pick this up in September.
It's a perfect 72-degree summer day, but it's been moved to Bondi Beach.
Celsius now.
That's
it's Celsius, whatever
really
that
nice.
is. And
72 Celsius wouldn't be quite the pleasant day you're looking for, but
literal
maybe on Venus.
They made it a point to open up and show the atmosphere of each of the levels,
Yes.
know, and then you got to see that and how it will be implemented within the gameplay, and I really like that. I like that presentation.
Marty, you hit on something that I think I noticed a lot on Twitter as well, and that's you're not into racing games, but that looked incredible, like something you would want to play. And I think that's what Horizon, even more than Motorsport, which is a great series unto itself, Forza Motorsport, that's what Horizon brings to the table. It's sort of, it's a lot more welcoming, I think, than the hardcore track motorsport, Forza Motorsport racing.
Yeah, just give me a giant map filled with cool things to do and let me dick around in it, and I'm totally going to love it.
That is cool, too. You know, they've really got to the point where they've moved past sort of pure car porn. In competing with the ghost of a certain Japanese game that was the king of the hill for a long time. I mean, they really had to work hard to get to the point that they're at.
Yeah.
And now they kind of earned permission to drive, a Centenario on the beach. Yeah. And the reality is the thing would immediately be like, wrecked.
Lamborghini would just take your car.
There would be choppers pulling it out, the Lamborghini logo, like shooting at you.
4K on PC and another one that's Play Anywhere. So that's awesome.
Also, no green cars on stage.
Alana loses a bet. Let's move to the game that we talked about in the pre-show. I was personally most excited to finally see, and that was Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. Yes.
It was. It's a game I'm still really excited
You're
to
going
hear,
first on this because I watched you react to it.
Let's put it. I was having a hard time getting past the commentary over the. I've been waiting a year to see this game, and I've got this commentary from these 4 players.
Why do you think they chose to do it that way instead of just
they wanted
gameplay?
to show the camaraderie between.
Well, they
4
wanted
people
to show
playing
that it's going to
together.
be a super stream-friendly game where go on Twitch and watch people play
probably that,
this.
but to really showcase the multiplayer aspect.
Yeah.
You're saying that kind of derisively. I sense in you, at least. Let me psychoanalyze you for a minute. And I will waive my normal fee for this.
I appreciate it.
I sense in you that there's kind of a cognitive dissonance in between the fantasy of the pirate world that you wanted to play in, and then suddenly having like YouTube personalities in it.
Yeah.
And that's like killing you because you want your pirate fantasy. Right. And what the hell are these people doing in there?
Right. Now, we're expecting to play this tonight at the Xbox Showcase, which we'll have coverage of late tonight. If you want to stay up late, otherwise we'll have it for you in the morning too.
Yeah.
So, we'll have our own coverage of our own pirate experience.
Yeah.
But the gameplay looked. I liked a lot of what I saw.
There was a pure presentation error, I think. The way that the cannons fired, the way the ships steered, the way you have to work together to be on a ship, the way you can be surprised, run to your ship, get on it, go fight. I mean, that all looked super awesome. I think they tried to be really clever in the way they showed it, and I think it didn't work.
I mean, honestly, I was sort of fine with the way they showed it, if only because I like the idea of me and 3 of my buddies getting on the ship and being like, well, how do you sail a ship? Like, what do you got to get the weird curtain flaps down?
Yeah,
and like,
I did the same thing. I blocked them out, and I just kind of imagine what that would be like with my friends.
Yeah.
I have 3 teenage boys, and so those types of shrill internet game voices are constantly wandering around my house on phones.
They haunt
and so
your nightmares.
I was somewhere in between like tuning them out and being so attuned to them that it was like, a cheese grater on my back. Yeah. So,
but no, the gameplay looked cool. It's colorful. It's big. It's open. Like, I like the idea of just go anywhere. Like, what's going on that island? Let's go explore.
By the way, look at the water. I mean, it is gorgeous.
Dude,
to look
just
at.
being able to try to shoot another ship with a cannon from a moving ship.
That's great. We haven't had a
That's a
pirate
game in and of
since,
itself.
since Black Flag, so I'm stoked for that.
And this is another Play Anywhere game. And if guys, correct me if I'm wrong, we did not get any sort of release date or window for this, did we?
Nope.
Which means almost certainly not
That's
this
why
year.
they put the YouTube guys on to distract you from asking that question.
Yeah, it was a nice.
So well done, brilliant.
Tried to slip that one past me.
Nicely done. Well played, sir.
Now, granted, coming into this conference, that was probably the one game I would have put my money on to not ship in 2016, and it certainly appears to be the case. I will ask the Rare crew when I see them tonight.
I mean, then we had
and they will not tell you.
Well, we'll see.
We also had
Oh yeah, Ryan, here's the release date.
Yeah, well, actually, now that you
we
asked,
had the
Sure,
notable
yeah, here are the
absence
plans.
of Crackdown.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was wondering, like, okay, when's the Crackdown 3 news going to hit? And it didn't.
We'll see you at Gamescom.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, that. I mean, I'll donuts to dollars. That's going to be one of their big Gamescom games. Will be
totally.
Crackdown 3.
Donuts
so
$2.
let's move to one of the high-profile leaks, and that was Dead Rising 4, which did indeed come true.
I was super excited about this, and they start showing gameplay, and they cut to the crowd. So when you could see it, I was so mad about
Because they
that.
had the little
Stop
fake
doing
snow.
that.
No, they
production
kept doing that
crews.
all the way through. Like,
I
oh,
know.
that's really cool. I want to see like a weird trapezoidal view of the game like this with guys in
It's
front
like
of
they
it.
hired the Sony's director from their last couple
Yeah,
of
stop doing that.
I mean,
all
by the
production
time we get
crews.
back to our desks, the HD trailers will be up, and we'll be
course,
able to watch
yeah.
it. But yeah, this was, like we said, Frank West coming back home, setting a Dead Rising 1. It is the Shane Black Dead Rising, as we all hoped. Looks cool, looks insane. I like the idea that you get this power armor, you're just ripping up stop signs with
Classic
slabs
Dead
of
Rising.
concrete. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Well,
Did we
that
see Frank West?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, okay.
sure seems like
All right,
it.
well, I couldn't tell because I was looking at the audience.
And
looking
we
at the
see there, too, we were wondering, with the leaks didn't show any of the mall.
I mean, there
There's
you
a
go.
mall in there.
There you go. Candy
Yes.
cane.
Look
Candy
at
cane
that.
gun.
How do you not want to
I mean,
have a
yeah.
good time
Also,
with
there's
that
no
game?
way a game takes place around Christmas and doesn't have a terrifying. Also, just every mall around Christmas is Dead Rising, so.
The mall setting is
point.
particularly good for a zombie game because of all the cool stuff within a mall that you can use to create those fantastical weapons.
I just want to do that. Why? Can
Yeah.
I just do that now?
Can we play that
I
immediately?
don't know. I just think, Triceratops flamethrower head.
Yeah.
I think that's a win.
Where do you go wrong?
That's
I mean,
my first
literally
band.
That's the whole
impossible.
pitch right there. I think they probably said, okay, we'll do another game. Triceratops flamehead.
Yeah,
Like,
and
okay,
then build
greenlit,
out.
go.
Wouldn't
How
you,
much
wouldn't you
need?
like to see the whiteboard up at Capcom Vancouver to see what didn't make it into
Looks
that
like
game?
the Zodiac Killer.
It doesn't look like there's much that didn't make it
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
game, to be honest, which
And
is why it's
that's
so
all
cool.
for the
And I'm
best.
glad they kept their like whimsical feel for the product. Like Dead Rising 1, you get a full set of Mega Man armor and a real Mega Buster. That was really cool.
And what's cool too, I mean, that looked, Dead Rising 3, as we said at the pre-show, was a really solid, excellent game. That looks like a game that has 3 years more of, experience and development and polish and hardware maturity to it, doesn't it?
So you're saying Christmas came early?
Well, on that note, with Halo Wars 2 being
Oh, here we
bumped to
go on
2017,
scheduling now. Okay.
and they said
So-
holiday 2016 for this, right? So this is probably the big November release, I would suspect.
Prediction: Christmas Day.
Not a good time to release video games, Marty.
Oh, not a good prediction. Never mind. Zach told me it wasn't a good prediction.
Let's talk a little Scalebound.
I got a Lost Planet
Haven't
vibe
seen it
from
in a
that
while.
one. Yeah. Yeah, fighting big monsters and shooting their orange spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I adore Kamiya. I adore Bayonetta, Wonderful 101. I mean, going back to the Clover days, Resident Evil 2, this demo totally didn't do anything for me. I thought this demo was a garbled mess. Like, I'm excited for Scalebound. Like,
Yeah.
I understand. Like, I'm sort of happy that right at the beginning of the year they said they came out and were pretty bold and said, hey, this isn't shipping in 2016.
Right.
This is a 2017 game. But we get this. Well, I've had my problems with this hero right now. Like, he seems like the kind of guy I see on the bus and want to punch. But then it's just this garbled, like this weird Dark Souls-y multiplayer where 4 dudes and their dragons are coming in, and then we have this giant monster, and I don't know anything that's happening. I don't know what I'm controlling. I don't know where my dragon's going. I don't know why he's trying to fire an arrow. That was really dumb of this man. I don't know. I thought, like, scale is cool. Like, the scope of it is cool. But none of this looked fun to me.
I getcha.
Which is something
I
that's
wouldn't-
so core to Kamiya's games.
I wouldn't count it out, though, because it's Kamiya-san.
Yeah.
And, like, putting on these events is really hard. We can talk about some of the places this fell down, this whole presentation. But, I can completely imagine the crappy beige conference rooms
Totally.
where, Kamiya-san's guys are being told, show the big boss fight so it holds up against the other games that we're showing.
Yeah.
And don't show any quirky stuff. And alternately, I can imagine the crappy beige conference rooms in which they're given advice on character design for Western audiences, which is terrible advice. Yeah. It makes all the characters look like guys you would assault on public transport.
I don't call it assault. I call it being a hero.
Sure. Okay. Fine.
Public service.
Public very well. But, the guy who made Okami is not going to screw up on beautiful, weird gameplay unless he's prevented from doing what he thinks is right. And I think the big question here is, was he prevented from doing what he thinks is right here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally.
And I don't know if we know.
Yeah, I'm totally not making a final verdict on this. And we've talked in the past, like we've demoing. What was it? Wolfenstein. It was a terrible demo, and I was like, this game's going to be garbage.
Yep.
And then the game comes out, and it was one of my favorite first-person shooter campaigns, so I'm definitely holding out judgment.
Yeah,
and yes, I have full faith in the man who made it.
Yeah, you got to be careful when potentially non-gamer marketing flacks are choosing footage.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I did like this demo, and the reason was I liked the fact that it was a giant boss fight with 4-player co-op. You don't get to do that in action games very often. If I could offer one piece of constructive criticism, I would have rather seen skip around to different people's views.
That could have been
so okay, well here's player 2 and here's what he's doing. Player 3, player 4.
So you wanted 4 YouTubers in the corner screaming during the fight? Okay,
Definitely not.
That would have distracted from the release date, obviously, if they'd wanted to do that.
Well, I mean, last year we saw the lost screen area. This year they're showing a boss encounter. I think they're just showing that there is diversity with this product.
Absolutely.
I did like this one also, Ryan.
Yeah, and it seems like Microsoft is, they're smart to keep this, a new IP that's maybe a little weird out of the big, sequel-tastic fourth quarter, and they seem to be giving Kamiya-san time to just polish this thing up and do his thing.
Kamiya and his team is, one thing to give time and resources to. That's probably a pretty good bet.
Yeah. No, and yeah, Bayonetta, Wonderful 101. Yeah, going back to the Clover games, this is one of my favorite
Clover
developments.
games,
Yeah.
When do you guys think we'll see Scalebound? Do you think it's going to be one of those, maybe January, but we're just not going to put a date on it yet, or is it even further out than that?
It looked,
March.
Yeah, it looked,
Next year.
I would say later. The renderer looked a little bit debuggy to me. Some of the text and stuff and boxes and the way that it was operating. It looked a little debuggy.
Yeah.
We will come right back after this with more Xbox conference analysis. Keep it tuned right here to IGN Live at E3 2016.
IGN's aerial footage of E3 is provided by Independence Day Resurgence. In theaters June 24th.
She has arrived. Who is she?
Our whole lives have built up to this moment. Now we've got to remind them Earth is not for the taking.
Independence Day Resurgence.
That is definitely bigger than the last one.
In theaters and IMAX 3D, June 24th.
Welcome back to IGN Live at E3 2016. It's the Unlocked crew, IGN's Xbox team. Gentlemen, We Happy Few might have been, it's a game that's been out there, it's been announced. We've covered it on IGN in its very sort of early form. It's coming to Xbox Game Preview in July, but we got a really polished, this game's clearly come a long, long way.
Yeah,
in a good way.
I'm confused by what this game's become because it started off as this sort of randomly, procedurally generated,
almost a roguelike.
A roguelike in this really stylish world, and it kept the style of that world, but this felt like BioShock.
It did.
In a really good way.
In a really good way.
The demo made me feel uncomfortable in the best possible way.
Yeah.
I liked seeing how they're going to deliver the narrative of the story, and I definitely got the same BioShock vibe you got.
Yeah, you get this Clockwork Orange Brazil sort of vibe to it. And yeah, I thought it was really evocative. I think there was a Viva Pinata nod when he smashed the pinata and it turned out to be a dead rat. So that's coming back.
Is that how Viva Pinata felt for you?
Yeah, I was going through a rough time in my life.
I understand. Yeah, no, I got it.
But yeah, it felt like this really interesting interactive narrative, and you have these choices of whether to keep taking the pills or whether to, throw them against the wall and see what's happening. I don't know what this game is anymore. But
that's a good thing.
It's a really good thing.
It's going to surprise you.
From a gameplay standpoint, it does remind me of the stuff that we saw before, but it's been themed. I mean, I think a lot of our English viewers will know this, but this is the sort of equivalent of the American 50s vibe from, like a BioShock or a Fallout. this is the UK 50s vibe.
Yeah, totally.
And it is very powerful for people in the UK. Like all of these themes and the Clockwork Orange stuff drew from that as well. So this just looks like it could be totally phenomenal. It could also be too weird to process.
Oh yeah, this is the best demo that I've ever seen of this product, and it definitely has me interested. And I think they're going to get a lot of people on board for We Happy Few and trying it out.
Yeah, one of the interesting things to me was the fact that it came at the end of a long string of ID at Xbox and indies, and we saw stuff like a quick glimpse at Cuphead, which we just want right now. We saw Below, we saw Outlast 2, but this was the one that got its full sort of stage demo. This was this was the sort of and one more thing of the indie package.
I got the impression this is the one that Chris Charlo was most excited about.
Yeah.
And because of that, because Chris Charlo knows games and I love his taste, I'm really excited about this because he was indicating that this is his pick.
Yeah, which is super cool. And I'm really curious though, because this demo made it seem very much like a narrative-driven game, and yet we're getting early access on it, which is those two sort of don't.
Oh yeah,
It's narrative-driven, and it also has this sort of bicameral thing going on with the pills and dark and light, and looked like it was full of totally solid real gameplay, which is terrific.
Yeah, and like Dustin said, it made me uncomfortable, which is awesome. I have too much comfort in life.
Yeah.
You just.
Well, it's going to make you think. It's going to push those boundaries.
You're going to make an excellent thesis for a psychotherapist at some point. You have several PhDs in you.
The nicest thing anyone's ever said.
I do want to plug something inside real quick, Marty.
Oh yes.
We have a preview that's actually should be live now. Your preview on IGN. We got to play this ahead of E3, and we've been keeping our mouths shut about it. But inside from the creators of Limbo. If you want to read more about it, see more of it.
Yeah.
Please check out Marty's preview on IGN.
If you want to go in fresh and not be spoiled on it, just the top level thing is that it is absolutely worth the 6-year wait. And that my sort of core thesis is that I call it Super Limbo in the same way that Super Metroid, Super Mario, and Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past took the core tenets of the NES games and just expanded upon all of them. This is what it does with Limbo.
And I think the announcement at Limbo is good too. Anything that gets more people to be able to
Limbo.
play that game.
At this point, if you haven't played Limbo, I don't know, you're a lost cause.
By the way, I feel like a real newsman. I have literal breaking news being sent to me that's relevant to what we're talking about here. Crackdown 3, we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
The official website has been updated. The game is out. They are saying 2017, so they're just making it official. It is a 2017 game.
New trailer, please.
While we won't be at E3, we cannot wait to show you the future of Crackdown 3 soon. So
this happened with Quantum Break last year. Quantum Break skipped E3 in favor of coming to Gamescom. With the same thing of, hey, we're coming out early 2017, so this might be following a similar playbook.
Game of the conference, from this Xbox conference, I want to go around the table. Destin, I'm going to go to you first, my friend.
Game
what
of this
Xbox conference, that we just watched.
Oh man, I'm not prepped for this at all.
All right, I'm going to go to
Dead Rising 4.
Dead Rising 4, that's right. The knee-jerk, just whatever your gut reaction is, that's always the right move.
Hop into a mall, go kill some zombies. That sounds great.
Seamus, what say you, sir? Creator of the Xbox. What most appealed to you?
I got to say, and it's not because anything else was necessarily bad. I mean, I want to play Gears really bad. I think that the gameplay is going to be terrific on that. Forza is going to, burn out TVs in my house. But it's still Cuphead, man. It's still Cuphead.
Yeah.
It's just all about Cuphead.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're absolutely not wrong, Marty.
Yeah, I mean, both of those. Stoked for Gears, stoked for Sea of Thieves. But I mean, is it cheating if I say Inside? Since I have insider information?
It's 100%
no, it's
not
good
cheating.
news because
I mean, the secret real answer.
good games.
Objectively, it is Inside. I don't know if you can say that. I don't know if that's how objectivism works. But Inside. I mean, honestly, on June 29th, you're all going to see why.
I will probably have to go with Destin on Dead Rising 4. It really looked like the sort of ultimate version of Dead Rising 3. Like, Dead Rising 3 was a launch title, for better and for worse, right? It had some rough edges, and 4, from what we saw, just looked like a game that was ready. It was like the ultimate incarnation of Dead Rising.
Yeah, a close runner-up, State of Decay 2. Definitely interesting.
Can't wait. It was just a teaser, but boy, I love the original. So, all right, we're going to come right back. Plenty more for you coming up on Unlocked here at IGN Live at E3 2016 right after this.